And just like that, everybody, we say goodbye to another esports pro player, a very short-span esports pro, I should say. That being Dizzy has now left competitive Apex Legends, one of the most notorious games in the short span of esports, and certainly would probably spell maybe and beg the question of the possible future of Apex Legends, especially when it comes to competitive, a game we have seen the rocky fall off over quite some time now, and certainly when one of your best pro players, most notorious pro players, all of a sudden says, hey, I'm done, and it does beg the question what the future of this esport will be, and what the future of the game will be as well. As we compare this, though, is not too much of a shock when it comes to other scenes out there. First of which, yes, Dizzy actually joining NRG less than a year ago. When I first was kind of getting this channel up and going, I actually remember this signing very clearly because his blow-up period was one of the biggest we actually saw throughout Apex Legends, if not the biggest one due to the game itself. Now, with that, though, his streaming hours have ever since very clearly decreased, and I think when it comes time to many of the multitude of reasons why he's actually leaving competitive play, a lot of them, they just simply make sense. Not only were his streaming hours ever since his blow-up steadily declining, obviously when it comes to seeing that from an outside perspective, you think he's not enjoying the game nearly as much as he once was. Besides that as well, when it comes to competitive results, this guy will never be forgotten, especially in my mind, because again, when we first got this channel up and rolling, we were covering Apex Legends all the time. We ever since have kind of fallen off because it's not necessarily a top of the mind esport out there, but when I first was covering it, yes, they were blowing up, and especially I will never forget the trio during Dizzy's blow-up of Mendo, Dizzy, and King Richard. Especially when it came to Mendo, and especially when it came to Dizzy, these guys were absolute nuts, and when the game first came out, they were your best players. They won just about every single Code Red event, every single Twitch Rivals event. They were the trio, and especially Mendo and Dizzy, they were the duo. Whoever their third person was, they were going to come alongside them to get a victory, and it was nuts to watch. Ever since then, over the past many months or so now, the game has obviously changed, and ever since he started competing at the pro level, outside of pubs, outside of these actual, these scrims that you see, of course, these Twitch Rivals and Code Reds, I think something certainly did change, not only in play style, the characters he maybe was forced to play, but the enjoyment itself, to me, seemingly had a fall off, and it makes a lot of sense why he now wants to focus on himself and back to his stream, which is what got him here, right? To me, notably, it could be different for all of you guys, the results fell off, the mentality fell off, maybe the mental health altogether fell off, and that's why he wants to focus on himself and go back to what makes him happy, and hopefully those streaming hours are back on the climb as well, and it just makes sense with all of the things that we have seen, at least from an outside perspective, and possibly the game falling off itself. Maybe he wants to focus on streaming and potentially be a variety streamer, a guy who can play whatever he wants, and this is not so uncommon. We see this all the time now. It follows the footsteps of many of your top streamers out there, the Shrouds, the XQCs, maybe even the Ninjas, if you're going to go for guys who have actually retired from pro play and then left their organization. Some do stay on as streamers. XQC, I believe he's still tied. You got many others out there, DeFran, the Seagulls, the Jakes. There are plenty of Overwatch pros out there as well who have left Overwatch competitive. They've actually retired from the esport entirely to focus on content creation. Overwatch, by the way, all their retirees over there, a different video for a different time. That scene, the fall off of pro players retiring has been immense, but we've seen this path so many times before, and it works out just fine for a lot of those guys who retire from their esport, like that of Dizzy from Apex Legends. They focus on themselves, they focus on their streams, and it turns out very well for a lot of those guys as well, and that's why this entire move, it simply, to me, has made a lot of sense. You see a fall off where this guy goes mentally. You see a fall off in the results and the stress he doesn't need to undergo himself. He has a successful stream. He has successful content. He does not need the pro pressure of having to compete and actually get the results that he once obviously could accrue. And now when it comes to pro play, maybe not so much, not so easy as it once was. Dizzy is now retired from competitive Apex Legends play. He's also left the NRG family, a great signing they did have for just under a year as we do approach his 10-month mark, I do believe. And until then, the question still continues, guys. Is this the slow start of the downfall of Apex Legends? Viewership says yes. Will other pros follow suit? I have no idea. Will the game bounce back to what it once was in peak form? Until next time, breaking down esports gaming news here every single day, all day long. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you guys back here sometime soon.